Today's speaker is Mark Mashansky. He's our Regional Sales Director with DocuWare. On the team, I've introduced myself. I'm Mary Martin. I'm the ECM Event Manager and Scanner Specialist. Jeff Slack takes care of the east side of the state, and Steve Mayer, the west side. You may have met them already on our ECM team. Next. And of course, a variety of solutions to fit your needs. One of the things I love best about applied imaging is that when we sit down with you or meet with you on a conference call, we talk about your needs. We do a discovery. We find out what you're looking for, what solutions may be needed, and then we tailor make that and pick a software solution that best fits your needs. It's not one size fits all. We have a lot of options. And you can see a list of the software along the bottom. Today you're going to be seeing DocuWare, but we can address human resources, AP automation, your workflows or requisitions, electronic forms, and one that I find really exciting, robotic process automation or RPA. What that is the ability to let a number of your softwares talk together. Let me give you an example. We were talking with somebody that 365 days a year, someone has to come into the office and run a report. It takes about 15 minutes. It's done in one software. And then when they're done with that, it has to be uploaded to a second software. This has to be done 365 days a year. That can be done with a robotic process automation setup. So to give you some ideas there's a lot of things that can be done with all that variety of software that you've got sitting out there. So talk to us about that. Next, please, Mark. And of course, here's some things you may not know about applied imaging. We've got your back. Did you know we have Shred Hub? We're going to come in and we can take care of all that paper that's been set for destruction. We can put up bins in your office, or if you're working from home still, we have secure bags that we can pick up and drop off for you. We have back file conversion services. We offer NetSmart Plus network support for you. It could be anything from your network right down to workstations, supplying those and all the other fun things in between. PrintSmart, managed print services for that fleet of small printers you've got across the office. We can take care of everything and take that headache away. Document scanners to get that information in. We have a variety of those that we service and take care of. Of course, document management we're talking about today, and you probably may be aware of this one, temperature measurement kiosk with facial recognition. That's something new, especially today with the requirements to take temperatures, make sure your employees and visitors are safe, and we even have software that can go with that as well. And this is Mark Mashansky with DocuWare.
Hi, guys. Thanks, Mary. I appreciate the introduction, and looks like some exciting offerings that Applied can offer their clients. I'm here located in Detroit, Michigan. I work very close with the Applied team across the geography here on a number of fronts, talking to customers on a daily basis about their business problems. And we do an awful lot of work for manufacturers and distributors in the area. So today, what I'm going to talk about is generally document management and DocuWare's capabilities as it applies to helping you as a manufacturer reduce errors in your business by capturing and making available all the right content for every business unit in your organization to act quickly and have the right information at their fingertips to do their jobs. So I'm sure we've all experienced this in particularly in the manufacturing world. There's just a myriad of places that content is stored, and we find that answering a question or resolving a problem often means, pardon me, shuffling through paper file cabinets, and then perhaps we don't find what we need or don't find everything we need there. We need to go to our email, which we're potentially using it as an archive, and frankly, it shouldn't be because it's a personal communication tool. Perhaps you've got shared drives on your PC or on a network that you access. And then, finally, there's the myriad of business systems that you use, such as SAP or Sage or even QuickBooks and Microsoft Dynamics to answer questions. So the statistics that I've heard say that knowledge workers, folks that communicate professionally with customers and vendors and distributors and all, spend easily 20% of their day looking for content and finding that information. So, we've tackled over the past 30 years as a software developer focused exclusively on document management and helping you solve that problem and ultimately creating one central location where content of all types can be stored. So on the left, you can see here that we've, over this period of developing this really unique, robust platform, we've developed the ability to ingest email, to access documents from scanners or from multifunction devices. We've developed digital forms capabilities that allow you to create content from an HTML form, either from your mobile device or your PC, and file it away in a secure archive. You can even print documents into the system. At the center there represents where content is stored in a secure fashion. So we apply business rules to the content, such as the retention rules about that content, who can view content, who can't view content, who can delete content, who can't. Think of us as a database that you configure to help search for your content, and we tag those content repositories, those digital file cabinets, with data to help you find it. You may have numerous different digital file cabinets, perhaps in HR, perhaps in accounting, perhaps a job management cabinet, all which have different ways of retrieving content, all the way down to full text retrieval. Just like when you type into a Google search, you can find any document on the internet based on words that exist in it. Additionally, we have ideas of workflow for routing content to the right people based on your pre-configured business rules, or even ad hoc routing content to people. On the right-hand side, it represents where people can consume stuff from their mobile devices while they're on the fly on the shop floor. They can, from a tablet or a mobile device, access content. They can access it from their PC. They can easily share that content, generate reports. So the whole package is an enterprise-class solution that can be configured to meet all of your business needs related to content. And oftentimes we're very much aligned with your other business systems, integrating in with them to make it easy to find content and share data. The world of manufacturing is complex as it relates to documents and content. There are just numerous places that businesses have issues and problems that errors can happen if content isn't stored correctly, such as, and I'm just going to go through describing a few of these, management of contracts with your vendors, with your suppliers, with your customers, understanding when those contracts are available for renewal. In the world of GDPR, or the European General Data Protection, content appropriately and managing the access to that. So order processing is another big one. If you're handling hundreds or even thousands of orders a day, you need a streamlined process to capture those orders, whether they come in via fax, email, scanned paper, any number of formats, and to route them to the right people processing one. And number two, even facilitate things like quality control, so supervisors can see how much work is being processed and how well. Creation of purchase requisitions is often another place we start. So you could read many of these. Management of work orders on the shop floor, so that users can, from a kiosk or a mobile device, see where jobs exist on the shop floor, indicate when they've completed a task, and folks can come pick up that work and route it to the next desk, eliminating the need for a packet to travel with that order. Change orders, quality document management. There's a myriad more. Accounts payable, human resources, dozens of locations that we've helped our customers. Now, it's important to note that DocuWare, while we do have a few pre-configured, pre-built solutions that many of our customers use in, for example, accounts payable and human resources, oftentimes we tailor this solution for you. So if you've got a special process for order processing that you want to now digitize We'll come in and talk to you about your business process now, map it into a digital environment that will help eliminate errors and increase your productivity to really let you take advantage of that. So you can start in one department and move into others. So what does that allow you to do? You can read this, but I'll just kind of hit some highlights here. Centralize your files. Automate tasks. So documents, when they reach a certain life cycle, wake up and alert people that work needs to be done. Create workflows where content flows from the right people based on your business rules. Alert people when documents are ready for deletion potentially. If you're concerned about compliance and you're trying to comply with the 9001 or 27001 ISO standard, we certainly can help you there. So in a nutshell, we can help you gain control over all your content and empower your business, reducing errors, increasing productivity, all with one tool. So what we're going to do today, instead of telling you all about this, we're going to show you DocuWare. And we're going to start by just introducing some basic concepts about DocuWare, what it is, how it looks, how it feels, and share with you some insight into that. We'll walk through a session where we'll collect a number of documents to show you how documents smoothly get stored. We'll talk about retrieving that content, pardon me. And then I thought I'd show a specific business application that would tell a little bit deeper story that many of our customers start with. We'll focus a little bit on invoice processing, how you can do a three-way match, non-PO field approval, integrate with your ERP. Here I'm going to launch a DocuWare session on my PC. This is for the techies out there. This is an HTML5 application, which means it's a very rich experience from your desktop. We can even extend the desktop with integrations through desktop applications that connect you to Outlook, connect you to scanners, connect you to printers, so you could print into the system. But the experience is really basic storage and retrieval is facilitated by any browser out there, whether it's Chrome, whether it's Explorer. Also, we have a mobile client available to you that allows you to interact with content from your mobile device, either Android or an Apple device, and you can capture content, take pictures, just like you would a check that you captured today and send to your bank by hovering your phone over a check. DocuWare has capture. DocuWare has the ability to search and find content. You can interact with documents when they're sent to you via a workflow and to make decisions about how they're presented from that client. But the desktop is deceptively, it's very clean and elegant and simple, but there's a lot of depth to it. We've spent a lot of time focusing on ease of use and make it really easy for your team to use and embrace this tool. On the right-hand side is where we'll view documents. Unlike tools like your shared drive or Outlook, oftentimes you don't want to open the document in the application, you just want to see it. So we've embedded a viewer that can view hundreds of different file formats on here without you opening your business application. Of course, we store those documents in their native file format. So if they're a CAD file or an audio file or Word or PDF, they're stored and can't be recovered for editing if you choose to, or delivering to somebody if you choose to in the original format. We're seeing a pane where we interact with content as it's received. So we've got an idea of a document tray where we can import documents from a shared drive. We can scan documents from our desktop. We could monitor our multifunction scanners that everybody centrally shares in the organization. I can monitor email addresses or sweep content in manually from an email address. Of course, we can search for content. Here you see that I've got a couple different search capabilities. I have the ability to, in a general document pool where many of our documents are stored, we could search for project-related documents. We could search for contract-related documents. All of these searches are specific to the individual user that might use them. And for example, we could search for all the documents related to human resources. And by filling out a simple and selecting a simple field from a search form, let's say I was looking for a given employee's record, I could click on that, and when I search, we'll identify the document related to that individual if I have the right to. And each of these lines represents a document. And of course, on the right-hand side, we can view that document. And we know we'll get into more in searching. I just wanted to point out that every search dialog looks a little different. We have the ability to have visibility into the activity that's happening in our business through, we call it a list, but I can also refer to it as a dashboard. So this particular user has responsibility for a couple things. They have responsibility for quoting and management of delivering quotes, and as well, they have the ability to monitor and manage contracts that are available out there. And they even have the visibility into order processing. So at any given time, they can click on one of these fields and see all the quotes that have been won, perhaps over the past month or year or whatever term you want to set behind that button. And then finally, we have the idea of tasks, which is where we will receive workflow items. And that a workflow is basically a specific document that requires a decision point from a user. So that's my quick introduction of DocuWare. I think you'll find it intuitive, easy to use, and we'll start to share some of the power of that with you right here. Let's start by opening up Outlook. One common document type that I'm sure that we all deal with every day is email. And here we're seeing a DocuWare session, an Outlook session where in the menu you can see that DocuWare is embedded into the menu. So we partner with Microsoft, both in the application integration here, as well as we partner with Microsoft. They run our cloud instance in their Microsoft Azure cloud if you choose to go down a path on a cloud implementation as opposed to a on-premise. Let's just take a use case here. We've got an engineer who's received an email from a customer, and it looks like that customer has provided a plan to them and instructions that they would like to get a quote for a particular product or implementation. In this case, the customer builds the vendor, our manufacturer makes roller coasters. So the key here is getting this email out to my team so that they can review it and have access to this request for proposal. And we can do that very simply by right-clicking, and there's many ways you can do this, but basically I build a release script that tells the system I want to release this document to DocuWare. By doing that, I've actually configured it so it pauses and collects a little bit more information about the document before it files it. So I can either file the attachment in the email or the email and the attachment in any order, or just the attachment or just the email. I pulled all the detail about that client that sent the information in out of the email, so I don't have to laboriously file this. And all these tags will be used to allow me to search for and find stuff. And in this case, all I really need to do is tell it which project this is related to. And effectively, I'm storing a copy of this where everybody in the organization has access to that document. And we tag it with a little logo that says that it's been stored in DocuWare, so I know it's been stored. Now, if anybody else in the organization got the same email and they tried to store it, we could configure it so that DocuWare would stop them and say there's already a document that like that in here. You do not need to restore this document. So a couple quick points here. We've also embedded the ability to search for documents right within DocuWare, so in Outlook. So when I click on search, it gives me the option to either search for documents from the same vendor or have documents that have the same attachment. And you'll note here that, in fact, I've got a document that looks like a piece of mail that's come in. And by double clicking, I can now view that document. And the viewer is presenting that to me here. Now, what we're going to see is that there are two parts to that document. There's the email body, and the second part is the actual CAD drawing that was attached by the vendor. So we get to see view of those, both of those. Now, here we have a whole bunch of controls over this document, and we have the ability to do things like annotations, so you could mark up and highlight elements of the document, make your markups, write on it, use our highlighter, type your notes on here. And these might be notes that you want to share with your team going forward, and you want them to use those notes to interact with the document. So that document's now been centrally stored in a repository. We'll search for it and find it in just a second. But if we go back to our email, we should see when I refresh my screen here that in fact, my entire team has gotten an alert saying, there's a new project-related document for this project that you need to be aware of. Please click on this link and you'll have the ability to view that document and take action. Now, when they click on it, they'll see that, in fact, that document is available for viewing, but they'll also see the annotations that were made available here. Number one, We've integrated with email. For those that are have email addresses like orders@yourcompany.com, we can automatically monitor that document, those items, and file them away in the system. So the DocuWare system. So back in the DocuWare system, you have documents that need to be approved before you release them to a customer. In this case, I'm just going to mimic a quoting process that might be familiar to many of you out there. So the intent here is to open a document, and here we've got a quotation that we want to share with the customer, built in Microsoft Word here, and we want to have one person review it, one person approve it, and then alert somebody that it's available for a release to the customer. Now, this type of process can be built for standard operating procedures or change notices, and each workflow can be personalized through a very straightforward graphical user interface that you can have control of once you have some moderate training on the DocuWare application. So I'm going to just drag this on a folder that DocuWare is watching. This is my approval watch folder. So DocuWare is watching this folder, and save this in that same folder by saying save as, and I'm going to go to my DocuWare instance in Explorer. So we can map DocuWare into your Explorer environment, and I'm going to drop this into the approval folder. And when I do that, the system will wake up and it will ask me to supply some limited additional indexing information. So for example, I want to file this away as a quotation, and I'll select that from a pull-down list. We'll assign it the quotation number. Here's the document date. Let's say it's due today. It's related to my sales department, or let's say the administration department. All this data is being collected to be used as part of our workflow. Who do I want to approve this document ultimately? Let's just have Mr. Winter approve that, and I want my verifier to be, let's say, Mr. Ford here. So when I store this document away, it gets filed back in DocuWare. It wakes up a workflow and presented a alert to somebody in the organization for their first steps. So let's change roles real quickly here, and I'm going to become Mr. Ford, who is our verifier, and he needs to look at this document. We're going to give him instructions to do that. Very straightforward process. Let's open his email, because instead of having him have to go to DocuWare, we alert him via workflow that work needs to be done in Outlook. We send alerts to folks in workflow, they approve that content, and ultimately it gives you full visibility from a dashboard here, and our user would have the ability to see all the content that has been approved at various stages. So they're at the approval stage, or it's at the release stage, documents that we've lost, documents that we've won. At any given time, if we wanted to search for and find our quotations that are in the system, we could search for all quotations that are in the system, and we'll see here that, in fact, here is one of the ones that I just stored that the workflow didn't apparently kick off appropriately. We could view that proposal, and when that proposal is actually won or perhaps lost, for example, I could give my user the ability to apply a stamp to it. Let's say I thought I won this, but I actually lost that business. And in fact, in our list box here, we'll see that, in fact, it's been pulled out of my won and dropped into the lost dashboard there. So a couple interesting ideas there for you in terms of workflows and the ability to process that content that way. So let's talk a little bit about paper as it comes into our system. So here, for example, we have an order that I want to process, and this could come in fax, it could come in scanner, it could come in via email, but I want to get it into DocuWare so someone could file it away and kick off the sales process. I can do that very simply by dragging and dropping that content onto my tray. And in fact, I could even clip it to a number of engineering drawings that I might have related to that content that I want to be included along with that content as a storage element in the system. So I could, once again, drag and drop this onto my tray and tell the system that I want to store the order along with all these documents so I can clip them together. And when I select store, I could store it in my project file cabinet, tell it that I'm storing this order under the company Flying Tom Germany. We use this idea of point and click indexing. It is for my customer, Thomas Rain. document type is a order in. We'll give it a document date of today, project number. We can, from there, store that document away. So simple pointing and clicking allows me to store that content. So let's talk a little bit about searching. So let's say down the line, somebody in customer support has a question about an order and a project. So they could go directly into the DocuWare search container, type in who they're looking for, and select that from a pull-down list. Let's say they know they're looking for their customer, Flying Tom, Germany, and they know they're looking for the original order. So the system suggests fields to be filled out here. You could fill more or less of these fields to produce more or less content here. And when I click on search, it will show me my order document that we're familiar with here that we just filed away. Now, let's say our customer service rep also wanted to see all the other project-related documents. They won't have to go back into DocuWare and store that document or search for that document again. They'll simply click on this link that says, show me the project documents related to this document. And you'll note here that we're now seeing all the documents that have a common project number here available. So instantly they have that content at their fingertips. They don't have to, at that point, drill down and find every piece of content. Even easier, if they wanted to, they could drill down into DocuWare here and find all the documents from a given contract, and they could do this through a simple Explorer interface with no training on DocuWare whatsoever. So let's go back and we'll do it this way. We'll look for documents from Flying Tom, Germany, and we'll look at our project number, and we'll look at our order. And here's just another way to find that order document. If we wanted to save this document back to our tray, let's copy it back to our tray again here. And let's say we wanted to recover the source documents and potentially look at some of the engineering documents that were clipped to that. We could simply unclip the documents and we'd have access to all 4 of those documents that were originally filed away. And from here, you could potentially edit this document. Let's say we wanted to make an edit to this. We wanted to check that document out and make a quick edit to the document here. Let's not show that. Let's say we wanted to type in some information. Here, when I store that, it'll save a copy back into DocuWare and push it back into the DocuWare system. When we go back and we note this document here, we'll see that, in fact, there's a second version of that document that is now available for us to view, and we'll have version 1, version 2, version 3. All right, so we're approaching a wrap up here. So I wanted to share a few things here, and I think I'll just drop into my quick accounts payable discussion topic here, accounts payable. So I'm going to open up a pre-configured DocuWare accounts payable environment here that will allow me to process invoices in a very effective fashion. Here we're once again looking at our DocuWare desktop, but we're going to take a little bit different role here. This has been configured to allow you to quickly and seamlessly interact with your ERP, to file away your purchase orders, to collect your packing slips, to collect your invoices. Here, in fact, we're looking at a QuickBooks instance, for lack of a better ERP to show you. This could be SAP, this could be Oracle, it could be anything at all. So let's just start this out by saying, hey, I want to order something here. And I have a pre-built purchase order here in QuickBooks. So let's take a look at that here. I've got this purchase order, and I want to file this away in the DocuWare system. And I can do that very quickly and easily by saying I want to print that. But instead of printing it to PDF and dragging and dropping it into DocuWare, I could very simply use this mechanism we call print to DocuWare. You'll notice this is going to the device called print to a DocuWare printer. And when I click on print, it will, in fact, push a copy of that invoice into the DocuWare system. In fact, I've actually configured this DocuWare to PDF version of it, pull whatever language I want to use to deliver this purchase order to my customer, title this. You could even have it pull their email address if you chose to. But back in DocuWare, we'll notice that when I look at our desktop here, we'll see that, in fact, there's a couple open POs. One of them is the one that we just filed away just now. Second of all, we may want to capture a packing slip, and this packing slips could be captured at the shop floor or the receipt floor, and you can do it by either providing a scanner at that in that location, or I'm going to share with you my mobile phone here, and we're going to show you DocuWare's mobile client technology. This happens to be the capture technology, and I'm going to just simply hover my phone over this document. It attempts to try to find the edges of the document, but I'm going to just intervene there and crop it manually because it doesn't look like that. Maybe the background's a little too shiny there. So from any location in the world, you can very simply open a document that you want to share and save into DocuWare. Say, I want to save this to DocuWare, and I know that it's a packing slip. So I'm going to save it into the packing slip tray so that accounting can process it. And here we see that it's being pushed into the DocuWare tray. I'll close down my mobile phone here. And we'll see here that, in fact, in our packing slip tray, accounting has received that packing slip. Their job is to very simply look at that packing slip and make sure that it's been filed appropriately so we can use it for a three-way matching purpose. And here, we'll notice that it identified that it's a packing slip because of the tray it's in. It's also showing me that it's read the document date out of that system, it's read the vendor name off of the document, and it's found the PO number on the document in this location. So we use an intelligent indexing tool to do that. I've stored that document. So now we have two documents in the system. We have a PO and a packing slip. Now let's just capture our invoice. So let's say an invoice comes in via email or any other particular email or paper or however you receive that. So let's capture an invoice. In this case, I'm just going to select it and import it from a shared drive. That little waterfall effect you're seeing going on there is in fact DocuWare trying to read the data out of that invoice. Your clerk doesn't have to do that. And when I click on store, we'll see that in fact, let's back out of that. I'm going to put that in my accounts payable tray instead because it wasn't a packing slip and it would have recognized that, but we want to capture all the data to help us make a payment recommendation. Here the system's recognized it's an invoice. We've recognized the total amount down here. You can see we've recognized the subtotal. If there were freight and tax, it would have found that data. So indexing is just visually validating that the system has found the data on that document. And when we store it, this invoice will wake up a workflow that looks to see, based on the data it knows about that document, how to process it. This document, we all know, has a valid flip and purchase order, which is everything that we need for a three-way match. So here, we'll notice that a workflow task has been created, and we'll see here that our clerk is presented with the detail saying this is matched a three-way match requirement, which means we've got an available balance on the purchase order, we've got a packing slip, and we've got an invoice. So our job here, because we've got that three-way match, is to basically code the document through our, and this will match to your GL coding environment. We'll pick our amount, the GL code, the cost center. Now, based on this, your task is basically review all this data, make sure that the accounting period this is going to be accounted for is correct, the amounts are correct. When I click on confirm, the data is then configured in such a format that it can be presented directly to your ERP. And what we should see here is that in our dashboard list, that there's a booking record ready to be sent over to QuickBooks. Okay, so this data, this CSV data about that transaction for this booking period of that's identified here is now ready to send to QuickBooks. You can simply download that data and import it into QuickBooks, and when you're done, just say, okay, that's been exported and sent to QuickBooks. So back in QuickBooks, let's say somebody down the line is also got an inquiry from a vendor and they want to refer back into the invoice transaction or this US Steel transaction. When they open their bill in QuickBooks, they'll see that in fact that there's a DocuWare logo on that QuickBooks environment or their SAP environment or their Sage environment. And by clicking on that button, they're linked back into the DocuWare repository. The data that's on the screen will be scraped off by the DocuWare search tool, and they'll be presented with a copy of the invoice. Let's say they wanted to drill down and see more detail about that. They could see all the related three-way matched documents for that vendor by clicking on this alternate link here, and it should show them all the details about the additional attached documents. So, Mary.